Hi, hello everybody. This is Philip Martin. Welcome to On Film, on Video. And we're doing it again. It is February 5th. God, we're 2 months, well, we're more than a month into the 2021, the science fiction year of 2021, I guess. Um, this is an interesting week because generally we have more going on February. In a normal year, we got one film opening theatrically this week. Next week is a tsunami. We've got Minari opening and a couple other things, and there's going to be a premiere of Minari in Northwest Arkansas next Thursday. So on the 11th, I guess, and that's Arkansas Cinema Society. You should contact them if you're interested. And like I said, it's in February. I'm doing this a little bit later than I normally do it, which is means I'm not doing it Tuesday morning. I'm doing it Tuesday afternoon. And one of the reasons is because Hal Holbrook died this week, and I spent. I wrote a column about it, which I'm not going to repeat here word for word because then what's the point of running the column and then having this thing? But I did have, I talked to him on a couple of occasions, and I talk about that in the new movies column, which I normally would hold off until I did this and then write the column, but because of Al Holbrook, I sort of mixed things around. And he was a really fascinating actor, and he had some really interesting things to say to me about the craft of acting. And one of the things he was talking about that I wanted to kind of pick up on here is that he really didn't think he got good at it until very late in his career. When he realized in 2007, when he was doing Into the Wild with Sean Penn, that Sean Penn had hired him more or less because he was Hal Holbrook, and he wanted him to really kind of manifest himself on screen, to be Hal Holbrook. And in a way, that sounds very lazy, but it's also kind of the key to a lot of people's process, I think. Billy Bob Thornton is such a great actor, I think, because he never imagines himself anybody other than who he is. It's just him in the situation that the character is in. And so, you don't have to internalize a lot of other stuff if you work that way. You're just sort of, as they say, reacting in the moment. And Holbrook said that he realized this on, Into the Wild, and he did it also on the film that my friend Ray McKinnon produced and co-starred in, That Evening Sun, which I would really recommend if you haven't seen it to try to find a copy of it. I don't know where it is. It's out there in the ether somewhere. But That Evening Sun, 2009, and Holbrook's performance in that is really good. And one of the keys to the performance is that, again, he's just being himself. He's playing he told me, I finally got a chance to play a person like myself. And you wouldn't think it was really that much like Hal Holbrook if you knew about Hal Holbrook's background, because he was born, like my wife, in Cleveland, and he was reared in New England, and he came back to Lakewood, Ohio, I think, as a teenager or something like that. And he's playing this defiant Southern farmer who is put in a nursing home and runs away from it and goes back to his land, goes back to his house, and moves back in and stays there. And so it's it's an interesting film, and I'm not going to give it away. But Holbrook said that was his guy, and he did some. I mean, he's not using his own accent. Of course, he's not talking in his own voice. They modeled the character on Dixie Carter's father, which is an interesting, kind of thing because he was apparently a patrician Tennessean with a lot of dignity and kind of this fierce intolerance for fools. And I think he intimidated Hal Holbrook when he was when he was somewhat younger. It was a. It's interesting to watch that performance, and it's interesting to watch him in Into the Wild. And of course, there's the Mark Twain stuff, and of course, there's Deep Throat, and there are all these, kind of interesting characters. But what I would take from it is just that that sort of, once you get to the point where you can master the craft, and it becomes like, you can do all the fundamental things, then you can relax, and then you can actually, sort of be yourself, as Hal Holbrook said. So, that's kind of what I just wanted to say. I just wanted to add a little bit to the new movies column, which really doesn't have much to do about new movies this week. Also, I hope we're featuring this. I mean, it's sort of like I'm the editor and I get to decide and all that, but I still, I always prefer the stuff that we've got, that we write on our own here in-house. We try not to run much wire in our section. And the reason is because really the wire is not of great quality every week, and we want to have a consistent sort of voice. And I think all our writers have their own voice, and they have, something to say that's interesting usually. Maybe sometimes I don't say things that are that interesting, but, and yeah, it's just easier and better to do it without wire. But there is a nice little piece about Stanley Tucci that if we don't fill up the section with our other stuff, we're going to run this week, because Tucci is also another interesting character. And it's not like a wonderfully brilliant interview. It just gives you a little bit of an idea of the guy. It's sort of like when I read it, I was thinking, well, this is nice. He's not doing the actor thing where basically if you go into a room and you talk to a movie star and they're going to charm you. They're going to enlist your empathy. You're going to, think that you're going to be friends with Tom Cruise is what happens. You go into the room and they're just like, hi. It's just, which is a good reason not to talk to him a lot, because if you're in the business of journalism, you're not in the business of PR. And it's really hard to make a movie star tell you the truth if that's not what they want to tell you. It's very hard to get them to tell you something other than what they've decided to tell you. Let's put it that way. And a couple of times, which is one of the reasons that when I used to do this, and I don't hardly do it anymore, I'd always prefer talking to, directors and cinematographers and writers and other people behind the scenes, but people behind the camera rather than people in front of the camera. Because the people in front of the camera, well, that's their job, to be in front of the camera, to, hustle you, to make you like them or believe that there's somebody they're not, I mean, and it's if they want to stay on topic, there's not much you can do for 15 minutes, so occasionally you break through. My two favorite interviews, and Hal Holbrook would be like a close third, because, you could read about the details of that interview. But in the column, it's in the paper. It's right over here. Kevin Kline, one of the first phone interviews I did with like a movie star guy. It's like generally I'd spent 15 years doing a reporter and talking to people and stuff like that. But one of the first times I talked on the phone with a movie star, I talked to Kevin Kline, and we had a great time. We had a great, and about halfway through the conversation, he just said, "You don't do this for a living, do you?" I go, "No, it's like one of my first ones," because we were talking about real things and talking about things in a way that wasn't programmed for. And I understand why people do it, because you've got a limited amount of time with these people. You need answers to these questions, especially if you're doing a broadcast or, a radio thing where you really want to have the money shot quotes come out. You've got to, kind of, steer it and hit these little points. And I was more or less just having a conversation. And he said, "You don't do this, do you?" I said, "I hope I never become someone who does it, because not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just not fun. It's not fun for me. It's not fun for you. Let's not do that. Let's do something fun. And the other is Billy Bob Thornton, who I've talked to on a number of occasions over the years. And one of my favorite quotes ever, and would be on my top of my professional biography if I had such a thing, would be, Billy Bob said, Philip, the reason I like talking to you is because you never asked me if I'm a vampire. So that's a tip. Don't ask the talent if they're vampires, because they're not. Because vampires do not exist. All right, that's my little journalism tutorial for today. Anyway, all the action this week seems to be like really on the streaming side. I have not yet seen the Justin Timberlake movie on Palmer that's on Apple TV, though I hear it's pretty good. Even though I'll have to watch it for myself, but it's like what I've heard is that Timberlake is wonderful in it, and two, Timberlake is not a good enough actor to pull off what this role requires. Nobody seems to be criticizing the movie on any other basis, so it's sort of interesting that. So I'll have to watch that and judge it for myself. The other thing I wanted to say, and this is just for you guys who are hanging around here at the 10, 11 minute mark of the video, wondering, what video recommendations I'm going to make, what Netflix recommendations I'm going to make. I'm watching the show Borgen, this Danish show, and apparently it was a huge deal. I mean, it wasn't just a huge deal in Denmark; it was a huge deal in Britain, and I guess there was even. I guess it was on Netflix. It's been on Netflix for a while, and everybody's seen it, and I'm catching up now. And I'm in season 2 of it. And we just watched this really incredible episode. And they have this right-wing character. Season 2, episode 6. And it's the best episode of the series so far. And I understand the seasons, it sort of falls off in season 3, which is the last season, but I'll probably watch it to the end. But that's Borgen, and it's on Netflix, and it's Danish, but you can watch it dubbed if you want. We've watched a few dubbed accidentally because our preference is to watch the subtitles, and I don't know why that is, to be honest. It's just some snobbery thing. But watched it with the subtitles. We're watching with subtitles now, but you can watch it dubbed if you want. And the acting's really good in it, and it's got some really interesting, B stories and subplots. And if you follow it, you'll learn a little bit about the way parliamentary governments work and coalition governments and how you can govern from a minority position. And some of that technical stuff is really good, and the rest of it's just kind of like Downton Abbey. It's a big soap opera. But it's well done. It's well made. Good acting, and so I recommend that. The other thing I've just started getting into is the Amazon Prime thing, Flack, with Anna Paquin, which struck me kind of as cheesy at first, but now 2-3 episodes in, it seems to have a little bit more, it registers a little bit more poignantly than I expected it to. And as somebody who was never a True Blood fan, sorry, we watched it, and I just didn't really like it. Sometimes you do that. You don't really think it's good, but you keep watching it. But it seems to be pretty good. The other thing, how come no one told me about Letterkenny? Letterkenny. I mean, really, come on. That's the funniest thing I've seen in a while. It's probably a couple years old, too. Much better than Schitt's Creek. And that led us to 19-2, which is the police drama that Jared Keeso, who the Letterkenny guy, Wayne and Letterkenny, it's his police drama. And I don't know how old that is either, but they're police in Montreal. So you get to see Montreal, you get to see police, you get to see, And I'm not sure about Lupin, the Netflix series. It's a little bit much for me, but we keep watching. You get to see Paris, Paris. So, which reminds me, one of my favorite films is out on DVD now. 6 films about Paris. Yeah, it's from '65. It's a little anthology film. I would recommend that if you haven't seen it. In fact, I'm going to show that to my Life Quest class. It's in a couple of weeks. What else is going on? That's about it. We're about 16-minute mark. We've pretty much fulfilled our obligation here, so we'll probably just put this on YouTube, and you guys can watch it. Watch it from your iPad. Let us know what's going on. Thank you for. I have had some responses to this. Sorry I haven't gotten back to you. If I haven't gotten back to you, it's just we're all busy people, and we're trying our best. So take care, and we'll see you at the movies, maybe, because